Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I was just looking through some of my old pictures and video of my kids, like back to like 2015, 16. Wow, time flies. I tell you what, those of you out there that have little kids, spend a lot of time with them. It goes by real fast before you know it. Okay, check this out. As the crowd feels from Sentiment, as the crowd feels the pain, there are several assets seeing an increase in whale activity as they attempt to capitalize on discounted prices. Read about the 4 projects where we're seeing some notable activity rises. There's XRP right there. Now, folks, if I've learned anything in my 49 years, it is what I do is I buy when the blood is majorly in the streets. I've been buying during the last year, during the downturn and everything. I've been buying private equity. I've been buying digital assets. That's how the money's made. I don't care what anybody tells you. Warren Buffett would tell you that. He may not like crypto or whatever, but he would tell you all day long that you sit with that, you have your cash waiting on the sidelines for times like this. Because the real money is always made when I've invested in downturns. The downturn 2018-19 is when I was buying all I could. And back then we didn't even know if this thing would survive. But that's when you come out into 2020 and things, woof, it was a different ball game. All right, check this out. Trump, who's running for president, said this.
In fact, it's waning in terms of our currency. And I'm not just talking about the value of our currency. I'm talking about our currency being used throughout the world.
You want it to remain. You want the dollar to remain the world's reserve currency.
Well, I think it's bigger than losing any war. Mm-hmm. I think if it doesn't, look, we are already reverting to third world status in many ways. You look at our airports, you look at our terminals, you look at our filthy roads and broken roads and everything else. We're like a third world country. We have something that's very powerful, and that's our dollar all over. But you take a look at what's happening to it now with other countries not using it. And you know China wants to replace it with the yuan. And it was unthinkable with us. Unthinkable. Would never have happened. Now people are thinking about it. That could happen.
Folks, I've said it for years now. I believe XRP was created to prevent World War III. And I've always also said that I've always compared the atomic bomb to the world reserve currency status, and he kind of just said it there. The world reserve currency status is probably as important as the creation of the nuclear bomb. When they created the nuclear bomb, they had the Manhattan Project. I don't think it's a coincidence that they've got Oppenheimer, the movie, out right now. But they created the Manhattan Project, which was highly secretive. You think they wouldn't have? You think they wouldn't have done something that was highly secretive to create whatever it was that would take us into the next 100, 200 years, whether that's a world reserve currency or a hybrid or a shared or a bridge currency? And this poor young girl. Poor young girl.
Our currency is crashing.
This is painful to listen to, but I'm going to put you through it.
And will soon no longer be the world standard.
Do I disagree with him? No. A world reserve currency needs to be available to the entire world. There's millions of people in Russia, Iran, Cuba, Venezuela that are cut off from the US dollar, the world reserve currency. Everyone should have access to a world reserve currency. It's in its name. Bitcoin doesn't care what religion you follow. Bitcoin does not care what gender you are. Bitcoin doesn't care what age you are. Bitcoin.
Oh, please. This makes me want to throw up. This young lady, I hope you're watching, because I'm about to show you something that's going to wake you up a little bit. back to the adults in the room. Listen to this conversation.
Into how do we solve real problems for real customers at scale?
Well, one thing to jump off of that point, stablecoins are all the rage right now. Everybody's coming out with a dollar-backed or some other sort of asset-backed coins that they can conduct trades quickly, seamlessly, but also without the volatility. So what would be the advantage of using XRP, for instance, rather than using, one of these more sort of like designed to be fully stable assets?
Yeah, a stable coin like USDC, for example, that Coinbase and Circle have done. I think that is interesting in mitigating volatility, but you still have to go from dollar to peso, right? So at some point you have a bridge, somebody has to bridge that. And in effect, what Ripple's doing is let's make XRP the most efficient, the most liquid, and the easiest to bridge by selling effectively the connectors on both ends, selling APIs to allow people to connect to both ends of that. If we have hundreds of banks interconnected to use XRP for that, I think that bodes well for the liquidity of XRP.
It's basically who has the most liquidity is going to win this game.
I mean, that's what I believe. I think different people believe different things, but that's okay.
You have all these financial institutions who are now using XRP. It sounds like more people are using it, and yet the price has declined this year recently. Why do you think that is?
I think if I could predict the price of crypto, I
think you got the picture there. Now, I like what this guy's saying, this Ripples.xrp. Listen to him.
What's up, everybody? It's Ripples in Wales. How are we doing? Listen, thought for the day. What if XRP and BTC are the only two crypto assets with any form of clarity as non-securities in the US for the next 2 years? What if all the other crypto assets are going to be held in purgatory? It's a really interesting dynamic that's going to play out. The charts are looking very much like they're echoing this. The XRP and BTC charts are the only ones looking with any real strong upside at the minute. So what if Algorand, Cardano, and all the other L1s get paused out as exchanges start delisting them because of further lawsuits? Interesting opportunities there that may lay ahead. Food for thought, guys. Hope you're all doing well. Having a great day. I'm out walking. You can see the breakwater behind me. I'm out for a walk this morning. Have a good day all.
So yes, he's right. What if Bitcoin and XRP are the only digital assets, even though technically XRP is the only digital asset with legal clarity? But what if it's just XRP and Bitcoin? What if Ripple announces IPO? What if Ripple starts announcing U.S. customers going live with ODL? The game changes, folks. That's what happens. Listen to what this guy says. This is David Andolfato from the U.S. Federal Reserve.
That is,
what if?
People say, how can you trust the Fed to do the bookkeeping? I mean, like I said, my response is, well, you don't expect the Fed to kind of steal your money. I mean, if the Fed can print all the money at once, it's not going to mess around with your bookkeeping. So, we have this big spreadsheet, the blockchain if you want, but it's just managed by the Fed. And it's very cheap, much cheaper than Bitcoin, if you're willing to delegate the responsibility to a third party. But then the downsides to all of that, of course, is you'd actually, suppose you didn't want the Fed to be responsible for processing the payments. I mean, suppose, the Fed will likely impose some KYC restrictions on some purchases. They might not process some purchases that you might want to undertake. And so it was at that point that I said, well, we could, if we wanted to, extend the concept one step further. I'm not saying that this is ever going to happen, but just conceptually, you could imagine not FedWire for all, but kind of like a Fed coin, where what the Fed would do is actually just issue these, Bitcoin-like objects, but and they would enforce a par exchange rate with the U.S. dollar. That would eliminate the exchange rate volatility. But they could delegate the clearing of these payments to some third party, some sort of Ripple-like protocol, or possibly even Bitcoin. I mean, we could delegate the responsibility of processing these electronic Fedcoin payments to the miners. And the idea there would be
delegate clearing to Ripple. And then there's this. This is for the young lady that's talking about Bitcoin. Watch this. This is David Chaum, who literally is like the godfather of eCash, I believe. Like a wizard.
To 2008, when the Satoshi white paper appears out of nowhere. What did you think when the Satoshi white paper appeared?
Well, it wasn't that surprising to me. That's all I'm going to say.
He says, that's all I'm going to say twice. In other words, he knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is.
Okay, and do you have any idea who wrote it?
That's all I'm going to say.
And now let's fast forward from 2008 to where we are today. We have Bitcoin.
I've said it 1,000 times, folks. I think there's probably a core group of people that have been pushing Bitcoin and Ethereum all these years, and they've always known who Satoshi was, and it's an inside joke to all of them.
It's the dominant chain. Are there any risks to Bitcoin that you can see?
It would be imprudent, sort of burying your head in the sand, to ignore the possibility that some state actor might find a way to use quantum computing to recover private keys and either just totally destroy Bitcoin or steal Bitcoin.
If quantum computing,
quantum destruction,
and they can do what you say they can do, does that mean that blockchains are not safe anymore? That your money is not safe on blockchains? That they can get your private keys?
Yes, I'm afraid if quantum computers were able to be of the scale to break public key encryption, then they could either be used to totally discredit all of blockchain, but just by publishing everyone's secret keys, or they could be used to steal money and transfer money out of the system or move it, make it inaccessible to the owners. But there are quantum resistant blockchain technology.
Or let me pose another thing to you. Or quantum computing could be used by a government that created Bitcoin and maybe even Ethereum, that created Bitcoin to do what they were always going to do, which is destroy it at the right time. It could be that. I mean, come on. This thing can't be used for what these Bitcoiners want it to be used for. There's a reason all it can be used for is a store of value, not for anything else. If they allow it to live, and I do mean allow, it's only going to be for that. Here's the Winklevoss brothers. They're in Switzerland. Switzerland is where ETHgate started.
Ethereum happened here because of the regulation. It didn't happen in the US.
I don't know if I'm dealing with music here, so I'm going to kind of leave that alone and go to this. John Deaton had tweeted this out. He tweeted to me, what does this remind you of? China orders funds banks not to sell stocks. And I said, well, it reminds me of this. Remember when Vitalik Buterin told the guys to stop trading when they had the Dow attack? Vitalik Buterin, okay, you guys can stop trading. This guy says, okay, this guy says stopping the trading will stop the hacker from liquidating, but that may be penalizing legit traders significantly. Vitalik Buterin, and deposits and withdrawals. That's their decentralized network, right? And then there's this. I think this is an SEC official.
We have communities that are, we have the Bitcoin maximalists, and I imagine there are a few of you here in this room, but there are also Ripple maximalists. But this is still out there, and to be honest with you, I think as this case goes, I think the SEC is sitting on a number of other cases that have the same kind of issue underlying it, and where probably the potential plaintiffs in or defendants in those cases have signed statute of limitations waivers. Because guess what? If you count 2017, when a lot of these ICOs happened, it's 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. Whoa, that's 5 years. Statute of limitations is about to run on a bunch of these. So the question is, how big is their file of statute of limitation waivers that they have sitting there, all sort of timed off of what's going to happen with this case. So it's an important case. It's going to be a watershed. It may or may not go to the Supreme Court, but it's certainly worth watching.
It's interesting. Statute of limitations. One of the things I saw in the news just yesterday is that the DOJ had let the statute of limitations run on Hunter Biden and some of the things that he had done. And so for that reason, and it was intentional so that he couldn't be prosecuted for certain things. What if that's the same thing that these people were trying to do with Ethereum and the Ethereum ICO? That was in, I think it was it 2014 or 15? It was one of those. We're coming up on 2024 and 2025, right? Is that the game they're playing with Ethereum? But she just said that they I think they did tolling agreements, like what they did with Ripple. Tolling agreement, my understanding, I'm not an attorney, but a tolling agreement basically is something they get a Ripple or an Ethereum foundation to sign and saying, look, we're not going to sue you right now, but you've got to preserve our right to sue you and basically waive the statute of limitations. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Spend a lot of time with your kids. Now that my kids are growing up, maybe I'll play you some of my old baby photos on here, my videos, that is. I got some great ones of my son. My now 11-year-old he was born as a smart aleck. I don't know where he gets it. Thanks for listening.